Welcome, beautiful family, to yet another episode of Yolking Around, the podcast where we bring you news, pop cultures, and life reflections. My name is Derek Mayo, and holy moly balls, it is hot today here in Colorado, up to 100 and I think 106 degrees today, actually. Or I don't know if that was yesterday and came down a little bit today, but I know that it's not something that you would expect typically from a state like Colorado, especially here in Denver, the Mile High City. It is hot today, and it was a hot weekend. I'm recording this on a Sunday. Uh, Sunday, very interesting weekend that we had, and that's a little bit of what the podcast is going to be about today. We are talking a day after the attempted assassination on Trump. And there's a lot of voices, there's a lot of opinions that are popping up in the internet. And I am one of those voices. And it was weird because before I even was planning the podcast, I was having sort of a hard time ruling ideas since it seems like everything is on repeat, right? The type of news that we are getting nowadays is just on repeat and nothing really, I guess, different was popping up. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, July 13th, there was an attempt on a former president. And now everybody's talking about it. Our political system has changed, fluctuated. The climate has definitely tilted one way and then it goes to the other and then another. And I just want to open up with a quote that I found out today, and it goes a little bit like this: there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happened, by Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. And I find this to be true more than ever nowadays. I don't know what kind of world we're living in anymore. It seems like it's made up. It seems like we are in a Simpsons episode almost, right? From the depressing debate between Joe Biden and Trump to the attempt on a former president yesterday. It, it seems like we are living in a simulation almost, right? Not to start the conspiracy theories or anything like that because they're running wild right now with what happened yesterday. But today is just a matter of reflection. I guess is a day where I just want to like take a minute and actually think about what the f is going on in our planet in the US, because not everything is the US, right? Even though we tend to think this way, that everything sort of revolves around the US, and that's not necessarily the truth. But for somebody that does live in the US, that is going through these political changes, that is in the midst of the storm that is happening within the US when it comes to society, when it comes to the social netting that builds this country, when it comes to the separation of church and state, the separation of left and right, it's almost like we're living in a circus. They're showing you the show and you just get to be the spectator, right? Just to take it all in and see what's going on. But there's a few people that are starting to look behind the curtain and are starting to see the uncanny difference between what is real and what is a facade. The US has become so sort of a facade to me, like a cardboard uh picture of a vacation destination, right? Oh, look. Look at like this backdrop right here, like a backdrop where everything looks amazing, where you're gonna have the vacation of your time, where you're gonna have the life of your time, and it's just the cardboard. You push and there's nothing behind it. It's almost like we're entering a gilded age again, where there's lunatics posting as presidents, and we are to believe, to trust, to encourage these two beings for representation of our nation. And listen, I'm a foreigner in this. I am somebody that moved here to the US 20 years ago, and I'm just an outsider when it comes to this, right? Just another outsider putting in their 2 cents in this conversation. And as an outsider, I remember that when my family came over to the US, they came here because we thought that this was the land of opportunities, the land of freedom, the land where everything could come true. 20 years have passed, and for the longest time, it didn't feel like anything was happening. But then these past few months, even weeks, everything has evolved into this sort of political cancer that I don't even know how to address sometimes. And that's why I feel like this quote from Lenin is spot on, where there are decades where nothing happens. That's how it felt throughout my life, the 20 years that I've lived here. Like nothing happened, oblivious to everything, maybe. But there are weeks where decades happened. And with what happened yesterday, just seems like we're literally living through history as we speak, as a nation, as the 21st century, as 2024. And we're all being part of that. I'll talk a little bit more about the Trump ordeal later in this episode. But I just wanted to start with that reflection with that quote from Lenin. I was uneasy. I wasn't sure of how to even start the podcast today because there's been a lot of shit going on, from the heat to our political system fracturing, America crumbling down. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. But I see things, I read things, I look at things, and it's not looking good for anyone in this nation. So hopefully we can get past it. And I hate to start with such a bitter note, but it's just something that I was reflecting on today. And like they sell you something and it's not really what it is, like a Ford almost. For those of you guys that love Ford, I mean, it's impossible not to spend time on the internet looking at the news, looking at people, corroborating or disproving or trying to make sense of what is going on in our nation. It's sad. It really is that it has come down to violence. Violence is never the answer. Violence is never the answer. But you reap what you sow. That's what I have up there today. You reap what you sow. This whole incident feels very weird, but before I start, I have a piece of news that I came across yesterday. It looks like this past week, I think it was July 5th or something like that. Justin Bieber was invited to do a concert for the Ambami family. This Ambami family is a billionaire family that is from India. I believe it was the son of the billionaire, so he's also a billionaire, that hired Justin Bieber for an alleged $10 million, right, to perform for an alleged $10 million. Is not sure the amount, right? But this family apparently hired him for their pre-wedding celebration, right? So it's not even the real thing. It's not even the real party. And these people said, I'm gonna drop some dime, 10 milli for Justin Bieber to come perform at our wedding or pre-celebration for our wedding. And people are not very happy with this, right? A lot of people are bringing the heat against Justin, and a lot of people are also bringing the heat against the family itself, right? The Ambami family. And the reason is because they think that the money could have been spent in a better way, right? This family has a lot of power. They're billionaires. I believe they also invited Rihanna for the same, and even Akon. They invited a couple celebrities, or a few celebrities, not a couple, a few celebrities to be part of their pre. It's so pompous in a way and opulent, right? Their pre-wedding celebration. Let me drop millions of dollars, not even just what they paid Justin Bieber, what they paid the artists, other artists as well. And obviously, people are gonna revolt. People are gonna be against this, right? Especially when you have a marginal difference when it comes to poverty and the upper class, the people that hold the power and the people that are in extreme poverty, like it's a country like India. So Justin Bieber decides to show up, and I believe I'm not sure, but I've heard he was going to be a father now. So I don't know if that's a rumor or not, but Justin's going to go try to secure the bag. Somebody that likes that expensive life, $10 million seems like like nothing, right? Like, let's go, let's do it. It's more money in my bank. And he's married with Hailey Bieber. I believe she is niece of the famous actor Alec Baldwin. His brother, his brother is Haley's dad. So you're getting old when Justin Bieber is about to be a father and he'll be baptizing his son very soon, right? That's how you know you're getting old. This soon to be wed family is composed by Amant Ambani and Radhika Merchant, two individuals that have very, very powerful families in Asia, not even just in India, in just Asia. I believe that from the Ambami family, the son is one of the chairmen of Reliance Industries and one of Asia's most wealthiest, richest men. I think they hold a net worth of like $124 billion, billions with a B. Let me make that remark. $124 billion. The wife to be is also the daughter of a very predominant pharmaceutical industry in India. So these two families are sort of coming together by coincidence. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe is to gain more power because both of them have a lot of wealth. We've seen this quite a bit. They come into union to have longer reign, more power in general, and people are not having it. And I actually took the liberty to look up some stats when it comes to India and the poverty line, because it sounds like just bogus news, right? Like it's it's chisme, right? It is gossip type news. But no, in reality, it's good to analyze this because it shows you the difference in the lack of sense that these billionaire families have when it comes to celebrating their families and celebrating their loved ones, and the conditions of the country is right now. So let me share some facts about the situation in India. I was reading this yesterday on I believe it was an article on CNN. About 60% of India's nearly 1.3 billion people live on less than $3.10 a day, according to the World Bank median poverty line. And 21% of more than 250 million people survive on less than $2 a day. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. India being one of those places that is super populated, right? I don't know if the biggest population, but definitely up there. If it's not second place, it'll be first, maybe even third, but it's definitely up there. You have another 250 million that live with just $2 a day. Make that make fucking sense. How are people not gonna be mad at this shit, man? When you have royalty people being celebrated like this, spending money at the wazoo when people don't even have houses, they live in hunger. I don't get it. What's so royal about that? Besides the opulence of the matter, the lack of sensitivity of the matter. Now, I'm not saying Justin Bieber is responsible. Like I said, he's securing his bag. He's an artist. He's providing a job, a service. He's not in charge of the country or what comes of it. But this family definitely has tentacles in the culture and the country. And cynically, they celebrate it for people to see, for people that can't even fathom having a life like that. As a matter of fact, as I was reading this article, I came across an interesting story, very beautiful story, very sad story though. But before I tell you guys the story of Amina that I read yesterday, let me read you this last stat. Today, the richest 10% in India controls 80% of the nation's wealth. So the 10% of India that is the richest controls 80% of the nation's wealth, according to a 2017 report published by Oxfam, an international confederation of agencies fighting poverty. And the top 1% owns 58% of Indians' wealth. 1% owns 58% of India's wealth. By comparison, the richest 1% in the US states owns 37% of the wealth. As I was reading the stats, this journalist was sharing one of her personal stories that sort of moved me a little bit. And it just shows you, it just puts into perspective, real perspective, the unbalance of power, right? The unfathomable difference in gains from one group of people to the other, right? So this story is about this journalist, and she meets someone since she was young. She grew up with this person called Amina, right? Amina sort of helped her throughout her life. This journalist ended up moving to the US, right? Having access to certain things that, like I said, in India, she she thought very impossible, right? She was like a middle class, is how she described it, right? And Amina was a person that lived in a slum in India, right? And over the years, she goes back and forth, right? She goes back and visits this lady in India, and she does one last visit to her, and she goes to Amina's house, right? And she describes the living situation, how she lives, and it's very, very poor conditions. These people don't really have a house. They have a place. They have some sort of space. It's very sad the conditions that she describes for Amina. But these people are happy nonetheless. There is a level of happiness, and that's the beautiful thing of it all. But she decides to take her to a mall, right? And these malls that they construct in India are very interesting because they're made for people that are middle to upper class, and very rich people as well, right? So you have very fancy restaurants within the confines of the mall. The prices are astronomical in comparison to what they they g- they're able to afford, right? That they get on their day to day. You guys just heard the numbers, but so she decides to take Amina to this mall. Amina is now in a wheelchair, and they don't want to let her in because she's not wearing any shoes, right? And that's like a thing that they have where if you don't wear any shoes, you're not able to go into the mall. So then the journalist, builds her case and sort of tries to get away, and they do, with the whole thing where she's not going to be touching the floor because her feet are on the wheelchair. So they let him in. They sort of walk through the fancy stores, and they go into a Gucci store, right? And of course, I don't know if you've ever been to a Gucci store, but the first thing they do is like they look at you funny, right? They look at you like you can't afford shit. And then they come and they want to help you, but it comes off a little harassy and almost like judgmental. That's why I really don't fuck with those stores. But anyways, they go into the store and this lady is like looking at them and says, "Hey, can I help you guys with anything?" They say, "No, it's fine, everything's good." Then a little later on, she asks again, "Hey, can I help you see a bag or see any items?" So they point to this Gucci bag, right? This Gucci bag that is hanging, and they ask for the pricing on there. The price is it comes out to $1,865 for a Gucci bag, right? For a lot of people, it's normal, you know, conceivable even. The way this person described and the journalist described Amina's reaction in the story is very, very interesting because they give the amount of money to Amina in their currency and she doesn't even bat an eye. But the journalist says that she doesn't bat an eye because she can't even begin to understand because of the level of education, the access, right, to the economical access that they have. uh, can even begin to fathom the amount of money it is and how long it would take for her to be able to afford something like that, right? Sort of blankly stares and doesn't seem to understand like even what was said almost. But it's because she has never had access to such quantity. I think they made a breakdown that it would have taken Amina 25 years of working in order for her to afford a Gucci bag, the Gucci bag that was mentioned in the story. When she described that, it really puts you into it puts it into perspective, and it gets you thinking that holy shit, there's just levels to poverty where it's sickening. It really is sickening. I really don't know how else to describe it. How can people live in luxury, wiping their ass with actual toilet paper or bideting their ass or eating the finest food when you have people literally outside your fucking backyard rotting away because they don't have anything to eat? I just don't understand. I just don't understand. But anyways, she then proceeds to leave the mall, takes her to another store where there's a bag that is a little bit more affordable, right? And the the journalist asks Amina if she wants to purchase a bag that she'll purchase it for her, even, right? I'll purchase this bag. It's not super expensive. And Amina's response is very interesting again. Amina answers, "Why buy it? Why do I even need it for? I don't have anything to put in it." Once again, it's like this gut wrenching feeling that you're able to understand through the story or feel through the story, and you're like, "Fuck, man, it really is a fucked up world out there, fucked up situation." And at the end of the story, I wish it was a happy ending, but it was not. The journalist tells Amina that she'll be back, and Amina is at this time is 80 years old, right? She's older, and she says, "Hopefully, I'm still here, right?" In the sense of like I'm getting old, I'm aware of that, and I can go at any time, sort of speak. And apparently, what ends up happening is that Amina gets displaced because ends up getting displaced of her little slum, like her with all her family, because they ended up destroying and taking over because they needed to build some sort of road system, right? She gets pushed out of her slum, gets relocated in another slum, and the journalist ends the story by saying that she hopes to get in contact with Amina one last time after she finds out that she was displaced. I'm talking about there's no way to know where these people don't have documentations, they don't have electricity, they don't have access to uh, water a lot of the times. It's a very rough condition. So when somebody disappears out of the blue, there's no records. And you could feel the sadness within the story because of what the journalist is trying to say here. Is like, this is a person that was close to me that was sort of just ripped away. A part of my childhood was sort of ripped away. A family friend was sort of ripped away from her just because there was other interest at a political level, right? At a economic level. There was other interest, not the interest of the people, but the interest of the state. It's as I was reading that yesterday, sort of put into perspective the anger when it came to the Justin Bieber news. And like I said, it's I don't blame him. You know, he got his back, he got away, but the difference in power when it comes to these families, and not only that, right? The lack of education that they provide for people, the lack of because if there's no education, there's going to be an easier way of controlling the mass, the populace, right? So uh, it's just like the perfect storm of everything. It's just something I thought about today that I was reading about yesterday. I hope you guys like the story. It's a sad story, but it's a sad story because it brings reality, right? It lets the shit come to flow, the real things come to flow, the way the situation is in certain places. We have it good here in the US to a certain extent. There's always, or there's, it could always be worse, right? They always say. But that doesn't mean it has to be worse for everyone, or it should be worse for everyone. That's one of the stories that I had today. One of the news, the piece of information that I had today, and uh, I just I just actually finished watching the Euro Cup. It's Sunday, and then this Sunday, it's gonna be there's gonna be two finals, two soccer finals. If you guys are into soccer, the Euro Cup, which is a tournament between the best teams in Europe, and Spain was the winner. They won 2-1 against England, and boy, what a fight! What a fight! Two amazing teams. One team that has been killing it throughout the season, Spain, with the perfect amount of youth, the perfect amount of expertise, and players that are willing to give it all. I mean, you see it. They put their bodies on the line. The game was intense. Uh, so much to say. I mean, if you're a soccer fanatic, if you follow any of the English players or any of the Spanish players, I mean, they just have history, right? Each player has a history. I think Yamin Lamal, one of the youngest players to, I don't know if he's the youngest ones to play in the Euro Cup, but definitely one of the younger ones. And he's 17, fucking playing this tournament. 17-year-old uh, Yamin Yamal from Barcelona, just killing it out there, killing it, feeling the pressure against people that are not twice his age, but pretty up there, right? Pretty up there. And uh, the Nico Williams, the other young wing, 22 years old, and just scored an amazing banger today. And I don't know, it's just insane, right? It's just insane to think about, like, what was I doing when I was 17? I was worried about what kind of pants I was gonna wear. God damn. Now imagine that, having the pressure of the whole country watching you at 17 years old, and you still have to do math homework at the end of the day. God damn. God damn. You got to have some sort of talent, right? So they ended up winning 2-1. I celebrated because, I don't know, just feel some sort of relation with the Spanish culture. Not that I'm Spanish or anything like that, but just because of the language, right? The representation of that in another continent is very, very exciting. And that shows you the support that the people that are Hispanics, so the people that speak Spanish have for the motherland, if you will, right? As they like to call themselves, La Madre Patria. One of the top scorers from England, Harry Kane, has not been able to get any titles, and this was his big break, and he was not able to obtain it today, and it's sad to see because he looks like a decent cat, but you know it is what it is, right? You have to fight, and it's the at the end of the day is the winner is the person that made the least mistakes, and it's just how it goes. There's going to be another final today as well, a very important final for the continent of America, and that is Colombia against Argentina, and that's going to be Copa America, one of the biggest tournaments, oldest tournaments. I found out. I think the first Copa America was like in 1916, and apparently Uruguay has been one of the countries that has won it the most. They just got disqualified last. They got knocked out. That sounds a little better, I guess. The last semifinal, they had it against Colombia, and oh boy, it ended up with fists. And it's never good. It's never good when it ends with fists, especially when it comes to sports. Sports is really done. It really doesn't matter that much. Come on, it's just a fucking game at the end of the day. But I get it. People are passionate. People play like it's gonna be the last one, and I get it. It's easy. It's easier said than done because I've played, and you do get heated, and you get in the heat of the moment, and the passion runs wild. So it is easier said than done. But the game ended up with Darwin Nunez, one of the forwards for Uruguay, throwing fists with Colombian fans because apparently the rumor is that the Colombian fans had been taunting the Uruguayan family members that were on the stadium. Right, there's a section, and I don't know why they weren't in like a special place. Like if you're gonna have your family members, why do you? Things can get hectic. I went to a game between Mexico and in Uruguay when they beat Mexico, and it was a friendly game, quote unquote friendly game, and people were already starting fight. People fought a shit ton, which is ridiculous, right? People on the stadium in the stadium, they started fighting for no fucking for stupid reasons, right? Not even soccer reasons, stupid. So things can get really heated. So as a player, I would think, fuck that. I'm not gonna have my kid around that shit. People drink. People don't know how to control the alcohol or their anger. They don't know how to lose. So what the fuck do they do? They start fights. Apparently, this is what happened in that section of the field, and then you end up having Uruguayan players getting in fist fights with fans, with Colombian fans. But the whole thing started since the field, right? There's a play where one of the uh, Colombian soccer players gets a red card because somebody is taunting him, sort of pinches him. He reacts, throws an elbow, hits the dude. Which, dude, if it's just so stupid the things that people do in soccer. But he gets obviously a red card and gets taken out. I feel like a lot of that energy is going to be transferred into this next final against Argentina because Argentina is a favorite for a lot of Argentinians, but also it's being hated on by other countries, right? For the way they've won. A lot of countries, a lot of fans from different countries that follow soccer, football, feel like Argentina has definitely gotten a little bit of an advantage when it comes to perhaps some calls, the game structure, even where it takes place. I mean, the final is going to be in Messi's home, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Not necessarily, I don't know, I don't think that's where Miami FC plays, but it is in his house. And, there's a couple things in this tournament specifically, and maybe even a lot of people could even argue that the last World Cup was a little shady, but they're saying that they've provided a lot of help for Argentina, And listen, here's my thought. I was actually talking to my friend. He's from Argentina. Shout out to Sergio about this situation, and he gets mad. He feels conflicted because he feels like Argentina definitely abuses the foul, the cheekiness, I guess, or the not even the cheekiness, but the I guess the way they push the rules in the game when it comes to getting calls or getting fouls, etc. Right? So he hates people that dive. And Argentina has had players that have done that should be actors, right? That do great at diving and they get away with it. And that part he hates. But he also made a good point where a lot of people say that Argentina is on the top and just because of outside help when they've played 61 games and only lost like two of them. Taking away the credit of the Argentinian players, I feel like it's a little unfair because they are really good players. They are players that do play in some of the most important world clubs. So it's hard for me to take the merit out as well. Now, are there iffy things? Yes, of course there's iffy things, right? And but that's always been soccer. It's always politics. It's money more than anything. I mean, the halftime show is going to be elongated 10 minutes when it's usually 15. It's going to go for 25 minutes because now they're going to have a halftime show where Shakira is going to play, right? Amazing for Colombians, but also, is that the best for soccer? Turning it into a Super Bowl? I don't know. A lot of people have their different opinions when it comes to that, right? Me in particular, I want Colombia to win because they have an amazing team. They've played really well. It's one of the teams in the tournament that has played very smooth, very true to their essence as cafeteros, as the style that they play with verticality and being able to just be cheeky in the good sense of the word. And another team was Uruguay, right? So that Uruguay against Colombia was a fucking hell of a game that had us in the edge of our seats. Now it's Colombia, who I think it's going through an amazing period of time. I think they played 28 games going on 29th without losing. So if they play today and they don't lose, it'll be 29 games consecutively that Colombia has won. And that's a big merit. And to win the Copa America would be another great accomplishment. But we know that it's not about who deserves it at the end of the day. It's about who plays better. In Argentina, Messi have a tendency to do really well in finals. So keep that in mind. Not discrediting Scaloni's team, Scaloni being the coach of Argentina. We might not like him, but that doesn't mean they don't know how to play. They play really good soccer and they know how to play their soccer. And not only that, they have camaraderie within the team. You know, a lot of teams break from the inside, even. You start seeing players yelling at each other. Hey, what the fuck, man? What are you doing? That's your mark. Make sure you fucking pay attention. Blah, 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 blah. You might have that in Argentina, but they all have cohesiveness within themselves, right? They support each other. And the team chemistry can change the result of a game in a minute. It's the same thing with Colombia, though. They have great chemistry. You could see that there's camaraderie. You could see that there's unity in the team. That the egos are set aside. That's very important to win. Doesn't matter who fucking scores, but make sure that when you have the opportunity, score, right? Yeah. So that is actually going to happen tonight. Uh, I still don't know the results. I'm betting on Colombia. Hopefully, they win. Um, in the Euro Cup, Spain takes the title. I think the coach won like the U17, U21, and like now the real one or some shit like that. The actual national team. So he's got they have a great coach. They have great players over there too. So it's they did amazing. And now we're gonna see what this Copa America final brings, right? The tickets were going from as low as $1,000 to like $10,000 was one of the most expensive tickets, starting at $5,000. $10,000. Would you spend $10,000 on a ticket? I leave that question to you. If you for to see your selección. You don't have to go there as well. I'm not even. If you are from the country, would you pay $10,000 for it? Apparently, there's people that do it. Would you do it? Leave a comment. And now let's jump into the last segment that I had for you guys. And that was the incident, of course, the incident that happened yesterday that I mentioned earlier about Donald Trump being shot, an attempted assassination in Pennsylvania. He was doing a rally over there in Butler, I believe Butler, Pennsylvania. And around 6:15, somebody decides to take a shot at him. And there's video of it everywhere in the internet. And the way things happen, the way the crowd reacts, if you pay attention to it, is very, very interesting. And a lot of people are saying that it was staged. But let's not jump into conspiracy theories, right? Let's try to be pragmatic and stay to what we know, to what we can see. Even though there might be a lot of shit underneath that we don't know about, right? But let's just go about it face value. He got shot, and now people are asking, like, or saying, wow, this act of violence, how could this be? When you have possibly one of the most toxic presidents I've ever seen in my lifetime doing press conference, doing debates, lying, saying xenophobic things, saying things that are completely racist and out of touch, inciting violence, and is now getting shot at and saying, wow, where did this come from? When you lead a party that is for the Second Amendment, that they stand by it, left and right, they cannot be without their guns, yet you suffer the violence from it. Empathy for a felon with 34 counts? For someone that says that foreigners are poisoning the blood of America? Empathy when he dismissed and said that we just need to get over to the families that lost kids in Iowa's mass shooting, school shooting? Empathy? Make that make sense. Trust me, I'm a firm believer of not being judgmental, listening before you judge somebody. But I've listened and I've seen what this, if you can call him a person, has done to other people. He has hurt people left and right. He has never gone docked by it. And now that he gets graced because he got, apparently his ear started bleeding and there's pictures of it. The Secret Service sort of ducked him down and tried to protect him. Yet he had the time to say, word up, fist bump to America because this is where the fight is. It's, to me, is ridiculous. Empathy for somebody that had somebody from his own Republican Party try to shoot him? Homeboy, not even your own party likes you. You reap what you sow. If you ignite people that way, what the fuck do you think it's going to come out of it? Violence. If you cultivate violence, you're going to reap violence. And that's what you got. You can't keep doing this and not expect somebody to be reactionary enough to take order in their own hands. President Biden came out, politics aside, if you will, quote unquote, politics aside, said that this is no way to go about it, which I agree. Violence is never the answer. People are tired of it. Sometimes words aren't enough and people decide to take action. Whether that action is correct or wrong, that's on the person, right? And the way we view those things. But people are bound to react, especially in the environment that we're in. Nobody wants a fucking civil war, yet here we are, right? Having to choose between two devils. When you hear the things that he was doing to young girls on the Epstein list, are you fucking, on the Epstein records, are you fucking kidding me? Empathy for a cult leader? Come on. This incident makes me feel like the little boy that cried wolf. When somebody lies so much, which we know Trump lies, he's really good at it. When somebody actually attempts on your life, People are not going to believe it. Why? Why? Because you have been lying. You try to change the narrative every single freaking time. So this is what happens. People do not trust you. And a lot of people are quick to say, "Oh, this is it. The battle's done. The Republicans have outdone us." I don't buy it. They cater to their people. They don't cater to the rest of us, to the people that have their head screwed on right, that have seen the trials, that have seen what the Project 2025 will bring if he gets into office. Give me a flipping break. Don't eat it. Don't eat the bullshit. It's not for you. The bullshit's not for you. The bullshit's for the cult followers that have shit in their head. That's exactly who that bullshit is for. How dare you? What if that happened to your family? Bitch, I'm not lying. I'm not saying that minorities are this, that, or the other. I'm not out there graping people. What are you talking about empathy? I posted it on Facebook, and people really were quick to say something about it. Oh, what if this happened to you? I'm not the president. It doesn't happen to me because I'm not the president. I'm not starting shit out there like that. People are so quick to assume that you must be Democrat. You must be on the other side. No, I am not on the other side. As a matter of fact, the other side is not left enough for me, as a matter of fact, if you really want to know. I stand for justice. Somebody decided to do a violent act, which shouldn't be celebrated by any means, because that's not the type, we shouldn't get to that point. But here we are talking about this shit. Having to decipher whether this mother trucker was lying or not. To me, this is a sign, whether it was staged or not, this is a sign of the ending times of the Republican Party. It's like a cat. I tell him, I always do the example of, I feel like it's like a cat that knows they're in their last life and their time is coming. So you surround them and they're in a corner just, I don't want to die. Clawing at you, being loud, being obnoxious, trying to create the most, trying to be fierce, but they're scared. They're scared. In the back of their eyes, they're scared. Empathy for those people that have lost families in Gaza, that have lost most of their population. Empathy for families in Congo being displaced. Empathy for those who deserve empathy. Empathy is not just given, it's also earned. And sometimes that lack of empathy could come and be perceived as frigid and cruel, but not when you see the bigger picture. You see that they don't care about us. They care about their pockets. They don't even care about their own family. They'll turn on their own family. Open your eyes. Just open them. I'm not saying vote this, vote that. Just open your eyes. Look at the history and see how much empathy the US has given to the rest of the world. To start closing up, sorry if I get a little aggressive there. It was not my intention. What's passion? Passion, because I'm not buying it. Not buying the crocodile tears. To end, we're going to end with this section called What's Your Bop? This section where we bring you the song of the week, songs that we've been listening to, that I've been listening to this past week. The song of the week is going to be Hombres y Mujeres by Faith and El Gordo. If I already mentioned this one, I'm sorry. I'll say Alacran just in case it's already on there. But Hombres y Mujeres by Faith and El Gordo, which is a great DJ. Or Alacran, either one. I like Alacran. But with that, I just want to finish and say thank you for those that stayed. Thank you for those that paid a little attention, minded the stories I had to say, and actually gave me an ear to listen, right? And provided a time of your life just to listen to my thoughts. Be nice. Treat people with respect. It's not that hard, people. You reap what you sow. I'm a firm believer of it. Do good so that good things can happen to you. It's not always going to happen. I know, because of the circumstances that are ruled by this world, where the lower class gets the shit end of the stick, but even within the confines of that world, good things can happen to you. And hopefully better things happen to us as a generation, as a group of people in need, as a group of people that's trying to defeat the upper class and even it out just a little bit for people like Amina in our story. Be good to each other. My podcast, my platform is not meant to divide. It's never the case. It's never my fucking intention. Never. So love each other, care for each other, and be respectful of each other. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us. And we'll see you next time.